All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of A&I. Today, I have maybe one of the funniest dudes I think I've ever met, but he's also a badass behind the camera. We have Cam Hotchkiss.
Dude, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Dude.
Quite the intro.
Yeah, man. What have you been up to?
Oh, man. This summer's been really fun, dude. We just got back from Whistler. We've been dirt biking. I bought a track bike this spring, so I've been trying to be a little deegan out there. I'm not doing a very good job of it, but at least my kit looks fast, even if I'm slow. But yeah, man, just kind of enjoying home. This is kind of one of the first springs and summers I've been home this much, which has been, man, I feel like I've been really trying to optimize it and just be home and shred all the things with tires and wheels and motors and no motors. So yeah, it's been good.
So did I hear something happened at Whistler though while you were there?
Dude, yeah. And this is going to sound super funny, but I was riding big jump lines. I was riding dirt jump and A-line all week. I had a buddy that was like, hey man, I want to go ride this blue flow trail. And I overjumped a jump by like 20 feet to my head and shoulder. So thankfully I fared pretty good. I totally tacoed my front wheel on my bike. But anyways, I'm just recovering. All my scabs are all healed up. Shoulder's a bit sore. Helmet's a little cracked. A few less brain cells, but I'm doing good considering. So
it's about standard procedure, I feel like, when you go to Whistler. And for those of you that haven't been to Whistler, I think everything in Canada is slightly gnarlier than it is here in the U.S.
100%.
It's like a blue run there is probably a solid black here. Mm-hmm. And God, you can get so out of whack.
Dude. I was just like, yeah, Whistler is just like, it's just Candyland for just like, oh, well, I hit the last 40-footer, so I could probably hit the 50-footer. Oh, I just hit the 50-footer. Oh, this one's it's a little lippier, but it's the same distance. I'm not going to go that much higher. And then by the end of the week, you're just hitting all the big jump lines. And you're like, oh, okay, I need to go home. 3 days is too much. I'm past my insurance policy on things. So, but it's Candyland for sure.
I feel like, I don't know if you've felt the same way, but like when I go there, it's like day one is like calibration. Mm-hmm. You're just not used to going that fast on a bike.
Yep.
By day 3, you're cruising. Brakes are no longer really in the conversation anymore. Yep. But man, that like second day, I feel like I've had so many near-death experiences.
Yeah, the problem is you go home and like go watch like a Seminuk video or some of the Nardogs. You're like, oh, dude, that's sick. And then you start getting all stoked up and you're riding the trail a little faster. You're dragging the brakes a little less. And before you know it, it's all working, which is not good. But anyways, I mean, thankfully it happened on a blue trail. We had so much fun all week. Like when I slammed, sure, I was bummed, but I had like such a high of a week of riding all those trails and getting my air time in that I was so content. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think if you were, like thinking back, there was a time in Winter Park, Colorado that one of my buddies came. We're both like driving from Wisconsin out, and we get there, we're both like frothing at this point, dude, just ready to rip. They have a trail there called Rainmaker, just a bunch of tabletop land.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but it feels like upwards of 200 plus
Straight
tables.
Up.
And I just remember he threw the fattest whip I've ever seen, promptly followed by him just absolutely smacking himself on the deck. And he ended up breaking his like scaphoid in his wrist. And I think I just called him a pussy for like 3 days straight and told him like he just needed to get it together and come ride. And he like tried twice, like paid for a lift ticket just to get up the thing, realized on the first jump that he just couldn't ride and had to take the road back. But I've never seen like depression set into somebody so severely that it was wild.
Yeah, there's nothing like being an odd man out on the boys' trip. So yeah.
Well, that's sick, man. Well, I wanted to get you on because today I think you kind of share a different reality from some of the other guys, like Essex, who we had on prior, where you're typically the one behind the camera. Mm-hmm. Like, how does that fit in? So for you, I mean, how do you get roped into kind of going on those adventures and being able to share it the way you do?
Yeah, man, how far back do you want to go on this whole thing?
Yeah, let's go deep. Let's go back to the river
roots.
surfing days.
Yeah, OG Cam. Yeah, I guess like my history, what kind of got me, I didn't grow up like this kid that had like a film camera in his pocket and was taking photos of goldfish type of thing. I always have had like a weird brain, and I think that's probably where my humor comes from. But I wasn't like this kid that could like color well or do paintings or anything like that. But back in my early days, my good friend of mine, Sky Shellhammer, he was a up and coming pro at the time in mountain biking. Now he's the marketing director at Transition Bikes now. And anyways, super creative eye. He always was trying to like run a camera and take photos of himself riding here locally at our hill at Beacon. And back in those days, there was not a lot of dudes at Beacon. So if you were seeing cars in the parking lot, I go, oh, who's this? So anyways, I kind of just started helping him take photos and whatnot. And shoot, like 13 years ago, he shot me a call. He's like, hey man, my filmer fell through. You're the only one that I know that at least knows how to press a record button. Like, I'll show you how to run this camera. Can you come out to Silver Mountain and help shoot this promo? So anyways, I helped shoot this promo with him. It ended up turning out like pretty sick for our skill set. I think I got a pass out of it and a handlebar and like some pedals for shooting it kind of thing. I was like, oh man, that was sick. Like, how do I make this all work, right? And I've always had, I love people, and I love like almost like the intoxication of passion. Like, if you're into canoeing and I can feel that you're hyped on it, whether you're building one or whatever, or if you're a mountain biker or a, professional zebra, razor, whatever you'd call that, breeder. Like if you're passionate about something, I think that's really infectious. And Sky was one of those dudes where he was an amazing, athlete, and I wasn't willing to go there as an athlete. Like, I'm like fairly decent on a mountain bike. I'm fairly decent at a lot of things, but I can't go to that level, but I can almost appreciate the high that they're getting, with hitting the bigger jumps, landing that big trick, working hard at something. So yeah, long story long, my world kind of started with mountain biking and kind of progressed to a lot of different things. And Sky moved away to Bellingham, so I kind of lost my like full throttle buddy that was just kind of doing stuff. I mean, obviously we're still boys, but if you're not showing up at the bike park every day together, you're not, getting to see each other that often. And several years later, several projects on and on, I came across Essex on my Instagram, and I was like, oh man, like you can tell these guys are getting after it. They're kind of doing the thing. Like it was, I don't know if I knew Steven, which I guess for reference, all these guys are some of my best friends and referred to as the Potato Boys. I bumped into Essex. He was kind of posting stuff online of what he was doing with skiing. And I was like, yo, I'm Cam. I have like a bit of backcountry experience. I'm not crazy, but I'm a filmer. If you guys are doing anything, let me know. And that was kind of my introduction to Spud Buds land. And that started with me kind of joining forces with Kyle on that at kind of the end of Famous Potatoes 1. And anyway, sorry, I'm just going through a huge timeline here, but
no, I love it, man. Yeah. I think even taking a step back to the bike days, and maybe some folks don't look at it this way, but I remember how like influential like the North Shore guys were.
Yep.
Where they would just like, I mean, being from the Midwest, dude, that topography doesn't exist there.
Totally.
So seeing the loam and these fresh cut trails with all the fresh lumber that they're, pretty much just creating out of trees.
Yeah.
And then you growing up or not growing up, and then being able to kind of take part in some of that? Because how long ago would you say that was when you started shooting for transition?
Shoot. I think at like a grassroots level, probably 13, 14 years ago. I was probably 16, 17. So I'm bad at math. Could be longer than that. Yeah, but I mean, and that was the thing that was so cool is like the North Shore days, and like you had to wait all year for like a film to drop. And it's like the first time I saw Life Cycles and The Collective and Rome and all these films, and seeing all the guys in Kamloops, Matt Hunter, all those boys, Thomas Vanderham, all those guys, like seeing those movie segments, seeing like the creativity of mountain bike filmmaking back in the day, and like the high level that it was with the equipment that they have. Like those films hold true to this day, man. Like they're rigging cable cams, where dudes are hanging off the side handheld, getting shots of guys like ripping big North Shore drops and whatnot. And that was just like ignited a huge spark in my brain of like, not necessarily I want to do the 60-foot drop, but I would love to be involved in the sphere of that. And I didn't really know what that looked like at that time.
Well, I think the cool thing is like, I mean, you and some of my other good buds being filmers, and you kind of like start to learn and kind of reshape things, because it's like, yeah, if we're there, we get to see this thing happen. Cool, it was done. But you guys get to take that and transcend it into something that will far outlive the stoke of that event.
Moment. Yeah.
Which is so cool, because at that point, the guys that are the athletes that are doing the things, I mean, really rely on your ability to tell the story afterwards.
Totally. And that's something that's been really cool over the years to figure out the athlete-filmer relationship, and kind of understanding everything from like, you're probably the first medic to the scene. If something goes wrong, you're also wanting to do justice to what, the athlete is doing. You don't want to set up a shot and make their monster drop look small, and the big thing with like filmmaking and photography and all of that is just creating emotion behind it, and then trying to replicate that in a medium, right? I know that sounds super granola cornball, but it's like trying to do it justice, man. Like this guy either put his life on the line or has been thinking about this for a long time, and he stomps it, or he blows up, or whatever. It almost feels like it's like your way of stomping the trick for them,
That's a cool way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's I think the one that everyone goes to thinking about is like the guy doing that exceptional thing, nailing it, and then you have to deliver. Mm-hmm. But I also know that being on some of those types of shoots, like you guys are the ones that actually have to make the thing look cool.
Totally.
Where like the shot didn't happen.
Totally.
The thing didn't pan out as the athlete wanted it to, and it's still like you got to deliver something.
Yeah, like we always say, make it hot, make it good, Yeah, and that's kind of cool, right? That's the the creative side of that, and it's a weird, almost like, I don't want to call it a superpower, but sometimes it feels that way, where you can kind of envision it before it's even happening. Like I can kind of look at things and be like, yeah, this is how I'm going to cut it. Before, I don't know exactly what the trick's going to look like, but I know like this is the perspective or the vibe or the song or what. It's weird. You can almost get these like, energy waves of like, whoa, okay, sick. Like this is how this is going to go and feel.
I mean, it's the maybe sometimes underappreciated ability to see that picture in your head long before anyone drops.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, at least in my experience, which I'm by no means an athlete or anyone that's usually getting filmed, but in the grand scheme of being in those areas where I'm watching people that are doing those types of things, it's just like, what do you think is, like, what's the biggest challenge when in a situation like that? And what's like the best outcome you could be hoping for?
Yeah, and I guess like on the creative side, or just like logistically for it?
Let's do both.
Yeah, I think logistically, like, and I guess a little more background on me with that is I primarily specialize in action sport and motorsport media. So a lot of times, you know, if I'm doing, more self-propelled adventures, it's like, all right, what's the minimum amount of gear I can bring on my back to get into this zone to, like, whether it's, filming skiers, sledders, you name it. And then, or on the flip side of it, if you're shooting trucks and Jeeps and stuff, you have a whole truck bed loaded up with all the cool goodies and, to capture the shot. And then I'd say creatively, a lot of it has to do with light, man. Like a lot of times I'm outside shooting outdoors, if you have an athlete or a crew that's willing to wait for good light, whether that's a good morning light or evening light, it can just add a feel and kind of a magic to either the photo or video that you're working with. So, yeah, it's like, how bad is your low back if you want to like put a bunch of weight on there, or it's just like dealing with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's like I obviously don't have the experience doing that, but I almost can attribute it to like hunting, where if I'm going deep and far and, you really have to prepare with what you're bringing and kind of account for the what ifs to an extent, because you also can't immobilize yourself having 100 pounds on your back. And in the off chance you get something down, where's that going to go?
And I think with that, just to reiterate on that, that's the thing that's gnarly is like, going out and, filming ski stuff with the spud buds. It's like, these guys are at a level that's higher than me, and it's like, you gotta hang, right? Or like hang to the best of your ability, right? Like, thankfully I've got really good relationships with everyone that I've worked with and have set the tone. I can definitely hang on a lot of levels, but it's really cool when you're working with people that are game to make whatever happen, right? Like whether they're, helping me haul a lens in so I'm a little lighter, or they've got a little, that we call it tuna tax, extra snacks in the backpack, to feed me while I'm bonking. So it's kind of a mission and a labor of love to, get if you're in the backcountry specifically, to be able to make these films and whether it's films, marketing, assets, you name it, happen. So
I think that's like the underrated side for someone like you, where it's like you aren't just filming in a spot where you drove up, hey, let's get out the rig and start shooting. It's like you have to be proficient on a snowmobile. You have to be proficient ski packing gear in. You have to be proficient at mountain biking. You have to be proficient dirt biking.
Totally.
So, like, to give you some cred, like, I mean, I've ridden with you now on numerous different things, and it's always fun to see, because it's like, your profession isn't that.
Totally.
But you're damn better than the average guy at riding a lot of those things.
Yeah, not bad for a big chubby giraffe. So, yeah. No, I mean, and straight up, I'm like, and this sounds kind of cheeseball, but I'm kind of a dreamer in that way, as far as like for instance, when I first bumped into McKinney and the whole 509 thing, it was like, I saw McKinney, I'm like, holy cow, there's another filmer in Spokane that like makes cool stuff. I'm like, wow, dude, this guy rips on a sled, and like, I would love to chase that feeling. Like, what does it feel like to rip a sled like that, And then like, you want to talk about getting off the deep end, holy cow, I felt like I strapped cinder blocks to my feet and, jumped off the edge of like, all right, I would love to figure out how to film snowmobiling. How in the heck do I do this? And that's really applied to a lot of things, is just kind of being dumb enough and hopefully tough enough. Not saying I'm tough, but I'm happy enough to kind of make my way through it, and thankfully have some people that are willing to give me a ski pole and kind of let me get my wings and be able to be given the opportunity to document what they do.
What was the hardest discipline to take on?
Snowmobiling, by far.
I would totally agree with that.
Because here's the deal. You're like, oh, dude, I can ride a dirt bike. I can ride a mountain bike. I can do all these things. Like, I ski. I can do all this stuff. Holy cow, snowmobiling was like, what in the world? I feel like I'm wrestling a refrigerator around the mountain with way too much horsepower. And I still feel that way. I'm still very green on the snowmobile, but I at least, can like make it happen, you know, in certain zones and whatnot. I definitely, if I'm going out with the sledder crew, I'm like, hey, are we going shitholing? Because I don't want to be a part of that. I ain't there yet, but let's go get some dreamy pow lines in the trees. That's what I'm here for. So snowmobiling by far, though, holy cow. Thankfully, McKinney, the Potato Boys, I mean, oh my gosh, if they were on here heckling me on the podcast with the stucks that I've had over the years and too tired and out of food and whatever. Yeah, snowmobiling by far is like...
I've always like explained snowmobiling to people. Like, we're talking mountain snowmobiling, so not trail riding. But when you get in the deep snow, it's like pretty much take every instinct you have and do the exact opposite is probably the best way to start riding a sled in the mountains. And it totally is, dude. Wrestling a fucking 400-pound monster that's in snow. As soon as you get off the sled, you're up to your waist, or you know, if you're on a good day, it's up to your chest. And oh man, the days I went into the same way, thinking, oh dude, I've figured out mountain bikes, I've figured out dirt bikes. Now we're gonna be good. And it's like I think the first like kind of mandatory left-hander. I think I was going down a little like open meadow, and I get to the bottom, and I just like they're like, all right, now step off the side and turn and look uphill. And I'm like, what? You know, like I just like give it gas and it just goes forward. I got like very dangerously close, like cliffing myself out, like on something that should have been the easiest thing in the world.
Totally.
And luckily, like, yeah, with some of our buddies going, you know, they just drag you in and it's like trial by fire. You just have to learn, which is cool, but it's definitely scary.
Yeah, well, I think too, and maybe I've just been fortunate on who I've gone with and whatnot, but when you get ran through enough type 2 scenarios where you're like, hey, I kind of just need to laugh this off and just keep a good attitude, you'd be surprised how many free ski pulls you'll get from people and whatnot. Like, I remember my first 509 shoot, I didn't have a sled yet. We literally were at Burke, like, going up Cupcake Ridge, like the most chill thing ever. And I think all the gals and everyone in the marketing department like pulled this little thing like no problem. And your boy totally flopped it like on the trail. And I'm just like, you know, trying to be chill, cool guy about, oh no, dude, I'm good. Let me flip this thing over. I think I was buried for like a half hour trying to get this thing out. And I was like a 3-degree slope. It was hilarious. But anyways, yeah, sledding by far. Man, when it clicks though, it is like one of the most insane feelings ever. I feel like when I was filming with Ross last year, I got a lot of days on the snow with him, and he was really good at just kind of coaching me through stuff. And there was like a moment where we were in Wyoming with Jay Menterberry and Blaine Matthews, and it was like sunset, like twinkly light, and I was cranking like over the hood pow turns all the way down, and I thought I was Jason Bourne. I'm like, this was all worth it. Like, I can get stuck 1,000 more times. Like, what the heck is this feeling? This is insane. So, and when you get those moments, man, it's like I don't want to dare compare it to like pregnancy, but it's like, oh, that was like terrible, like having to deal with all that. But I love this kid, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I had to deal with all this crap, but like, oh my gosh, it clicked, and this is sick. So. And I think that kind of applies across the board. Like, you kind of go through this learning phase of like, how the heck do I do this? And then it clicks, and you're just like, damn, I am sick like that.
Dude, you might catch some strays for correlating that to childbirth. but like, I think it's a fair comparison.
I think it's fair. I don't know the pain level. I'm not getting into that, but I'm just saying it's...
We're going to get canceled. Dude. Two guys talking about this.
My bad. But straight up.
Two childless guys talking about this?
Straight up. What am I doing? But like straight up though, it's like snowmobiling was the biggest like pain and misery of just like, dude, what the heck? I like bought a sled just to like sign up for, you know, CrossFit and then go home like with my gear, sweat through 19 layers of gear, like out of Cheetos like 3 hours ago. And like, I'm hoping I have enough arm strength to just get like put my, sled cover on and go home. Like, snowmobiling by far was the hardest, but in a lot of ways.
Dude, the most helpless and rewarding I've felt in a, 20-minute time frame. Like, if you just, replay that over and over again, it's like, you feel like you're stuck. There's nothing. I can't get out of here. If nobody came and helped me, I'm going to die right here because I can't walk back to the truck.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, someone comes, pulls your ski, you get a sick turn in, and you're like,
oh,
I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
It is a rare thing. You should get out and try it. If you haven't tried it, you should get out. And there's a lot of rental spots.
Yep.
Look at Polaris Adventures. Go get a rental sled.
Yep.
Go pound on it.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's so dang fun. So, yeah, well, moral of the story, just thankful for myself for sticking with things till it kind of makes sense, and then I can make the call on whether or not I want to do it. But, there's a feeling with all of those sports, and at whatever level I am or whatever, it's like it almost feels like I can get to this base level as a cameraman of like, whoa, I just roosted my first corner, like that's sick. And then you see a pro roost 10 in a row and like whatever, or you made your first power turn on a sled or skis, but then you see someone do a big spine line or do whatever, you're like, oh man, like I don't know what that feeling is because I'm not going to go there. That's why I'm sitting over here with the camera. But I'm like, dang, I can only imagine what that feels like. That's amazing.
If we jump back to even you as an athlete, like you as a rider and someone that just participates, do you think being around pros and seeing what's possible and kind of viewing the ceiling in real time, do you think that just desensitizes you to what you can kind of open yourself up to?
Totally, dude. Yeah, definitely. You kind of don't realize it, but sometimes it feels like someone straps on the Superman cape, even though you haven't really got your wings yet. Because you're like, oh yeah, okay, just hold it wide open through this, and then it's fine. Thankfully, being a bit of a cautious Sally that I am, I got a pretty good governor on building up to a point, because big guy fall hard, on things, but. I think the thing that's really cool about going with a pro athlete, though, is you can get the beta of just okay, how do you do this? Or, maybe your technique's wrong or whatever, and they'll kind of coach you through stuff. I know that was a huge part of my learning process of hey, if you're almost stuck and not quite stuck, do this. Or, hey, this is the body positioning you need to be, for this turn. Or hey, Cam, this is how you hit a jump on a mountain bike. You can get the beta from the guys that are doing it versus I'm definitely a first time all Jerry. I'm not this crazy. I don't want to come across as this crazy athlete on a sled, or any, discipline, but it's definitely helpful having guys be hey man, we're going to drop into this drainage and we'll be able to get you out, but you're kind of in it. And it's okay, I'll just smile till I can't.
Dude, that makes me think of so David McKinney, who we keep mentioning McKinney, who's the lead filmer for 509, which is a sled company. Also one of our great buds. And that was who got me into sleds. Watching a video he made.
Yep.
Watching how it all, I think it was Caleb Kosterke, pro sledder, doing some crazy I wouldn't even call it a bow tie. It was a aerial almost, and just lands it, rips away, but just punk rock music on, a total McKinney style edit. And I just remember I was I'm hooked. I didn't even own a sled at that point, but I'm well, I'm buying one, so got to figure this out. That's how I met him. Was
totally.
Just messaging him and asking dude, what do I there's so many options out here. But fast forward a little bit, because we'll get into the McKinney deal when I actually get him on when he's not traveling. And he, Spottenberg, this absolute, we get to this spot and you just look out and all you see is tree trunks that turn into tree tips and then nothing. And you're okay, so it's super dense, wooded forest, steep as all hell, not knowing at all what's I know what's at the bottom of drainages. It's more shit and more trees and I just remember hey dude, am I good going into here? Oh yeah. And it just takes off and I'm shit. It was kind of the sack up or dude, I'm gonna have to call my buddies to come back up and help me,
Totally.
And I just remember going in, brakes no longer mattered. If you grab the brake, you're just going faster.
Yeah.
And it was like a luge course going down with like a couple like 3-foot drops to get in. I think you probably know what hole I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I just like after that day, which I was like by no means I did not have enough skill to get in there and do that, but it was like I felt like I leveled up like 10 years of sledding that day of just being forced.
Yeah.
But it was also like if I didn't have the pro dudes to watch, and McKinney's a filmer, but we're not going to glaze over the fact that he has the ability to probably be a pro athlete if he wanted to be. But it's like, yeah, not like being able to watch him was like, oh, it is doable.
Yeah.
So like,
I know. I wish I could just take a quick spark notes on a bow tie and a re-entry, though. That unfortunately doesn't quite work that way. It's like, yeah, just come over here, just like go running board to running board, like keep it wicked the entire time, and like put your balls in your backpack and get to the top of this thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude! Like I've never like not to have this whole thing be about snowmobiling, but like. Snowmobiling has been one of those sports where it's been like every red light is going off in my brain, and I just have to bypass all of that and be like, all right, we're going to hold this thing open till, I'm at the top or I'm not at the top.
So. And for those of you that don't know, bow tie is you're basically coming in on the mountain like side hill, and you basically do like I call it a wraparound, and I get made fun of for it, but skis in the air, you're doing pretty much a full like 180 on the tip of your track. Yep. So skis up in the air. It's a total like blind move. I mean, you watch some of the dudes and they just make it look so easy. It's not easy. It's it was definitely not easy. Not. But it's one of those cool ones where if you can do it, it really can elevate where you can ride because you can turn around on a dime then. But yeah, I'm kind of getting antsy. I want to go ride some sleds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so jumping from like sledding, so that was a new one coming in, but like you've even shot things like ice climbing and stuff that from just knowing you, I know you don't go and do that on the regular.
Totally.
But like I would love to hear kind of like jumping into that and like how did you fare?
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's fun to like develop a baseline skill set to like know, not that I can survive in any situation type of thing, but be able to put the right right tools in place to be able to give yourself the most success. And typically, as a filmer, the athlete and whatnot, they want you to obviously survive so you can get clips. So. And whatnot.
Cameraman never dies.
Yeah, straight up. But man, I've had some. I guess to just it's like you develop this weird baseline of I can do this, and it's probably just a 3 mil thicker helmet. It's probably not a real skill set, but it's just this weird, almost understanding with yourself that you learn through time. That if we got to stay out overnight, I can do that. I've done a 10-mile hike before. I can do that. I can be hot all day. I can be cold all night. Like I know how to take care of myself to that level. And if you can get to that, you can kind of take care of yourself from there. So
do you ever, this is just a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's interesting. Me and Essex talked about it too, but it's like unlocking new levels for yourself where like, I know you're talking about kind of like a baseline skill set to do and be professional at what you do. But if you compare that to the common dude chilling in Spokane, Washington, that goes to work for 8 hours a day, comes home, mows the lawn, like some of this stuff I think that even we view as like, yeah, you could do that. Like I don't want to go be cold all night and shiver and not be able to sleep and have to hike 10 miles out. But it's like, it doesn't sound that bad sitting in a nice air-conditioned kitchen.
Totally. Oh my goodness. I unfortunately I am a bit of a golden retriever of finding friends that like type 2 fun, which is great. Like it's super fun to talk about. And it's really fun when you develop the skill set to be like, oh, this is the type 2 thing. It's happening right now. Like, let's laugh about it. And I think to kind of finish my earlier story of like my buddy Sky at Transition, very high octane dude, like, rips at life, does everything well. And then coming across Essex and everything that he's about, and Blake and Steven and Kyle, I am so drawn to people that are like, here's this big idea. I have 73% of it figured out. Are you willing to, kind of figure it out with me, And that comes with a really cool, there's so many cool things that you can learn. Like, I've gotten to be with those friends and document those dudes, where I've got to see them at their highest highs of like skiing a line that's insane, and them yelling, and like the endorphin dump feels like you're on cloud nine, and not necessarily the lowest lows, but in the pain cave, and you get to see them at another level. And when you get to see people that are willing to kind of experience both sides of that, I really enjoy, being around that, and it kind of goes alongside of like passion for doing it. So, I don't know. That was kind of a weird answer, but
I mean, it totally makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
And it's hard because you have so many cool avenues that I don't want to overlook one, but like, I know, at least for instance, like when you were doing that ice climbing shoot, you're in Alaska, you're filming with, is it Outside Magazine or?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So like, take me through like that shot, or not the shot, but take me through like that film trip.
Yeah.
Like, what's required when you're starting to work with a brand of that size? You're filming something you don't particularly do
Totally.
on the norm. Maybe like these guys, you probably didn't have like with Essex, obviously, like you guys are like great buds.
Yeah.
So like that
taking time. Yeah.
So that it all is things that like factor into the deliverable product that you produced.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate, like in my young filmmaking career when I started, not to backtrack too far, but Jordan Howland, he's in New York now, but he was local to Coeur d'Alene as a filmmaker, and he brought me on to be a camera operator, for the shoot. He knew I had a sense of adventure, and he knew this was going to be very much Type 2 fun. So he had this idea with Alan, the ice climber, to shoot this like lighting up the glaciers at night, movie. And he brought me in, and dude, I was like stoked, over the moon. So yeah, we flew into Juneau, Alaska. It was all shot at the Mendenhall Glacier, which, don't quote me on this, but basically you like walk across this bay that's probably, I could be wrong, like 3 to 4 miles to the base of the glacier field. And then from there, you're kind of quote unquote commuting in the glacier field. And then we were rigging lights on glaciers and documenting Alan climbing these technical climbs at night while all these, glaciers are lit up beautifully. And dude, it was like out of body experience, gnarly, everything in between. Like, to be honest, that was the first place that I looked death straight in the eyes. Basically, there's like an ice layer that, like, there's like the mountain valley, right? And the ice layer to the glacier kind of butts up either side of the dirt and whatnot. And when we were filming, it wasn't quite full darkness in Alaska when we were there, so we were filming from like 6 p.m. till like 4 a.m. the next morning. That's kind of what our program was. And anyways, I'm like walking along the mountain wall with crampons on. I got, probably a 60 to 80 pound camera bag on. Like, I've got cine lenses, like full, like cine body camera, V mounts, lights, you name it. And I lost my footing, and the only thing that stopped me from like basically going underneath the glacier was the fact that, one, I'm a thick boy, and two, I had a big backpack on. I literally got wedged, and they were able to pull me out. So
like, what kind of, like, how deep of a crevasse, or like?
Oh, hundreds of feet. Yeah, if I was 5'9" and 111 pounds with just a little DSLR, like, that would have been Cam. I would have been gone.
Cam delete.
Yeah, Cam delete. So, dude, it's gnarly. Like, and it was so weird how it was like, "Hey guys, I'm good," shot out the rest of the night, walked out, like, and you just have this walk on the lake that's dark. You have a sled behind you because you're trying to keep the backpack off you. And so it's a frozen, I don't know if lake is the right term, but bay. And you're just walking foot in front of the other. You got your buddy in front of you, buddy behind you. They're probably 100 yards between you, just thinking, walking across the lake. And yeah, anyways, you're getting ice screwed into glaciers, holding cameras, trying to give, the viewer an out-of-body experience, doing something. And I think if you kind of go on with that mindset, you can have a cool perspective on documenting things.
Remind me of the name. Brighter Nights?
Brighter Nights, yeah.
Brighter Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, look that up, YouTube, anything. I mean, as the viewer who recently watched it, it's like almost like a psychedelic experience meets just badass outdoors, like technical climbing.
Yeah. It's
kind of a hard thing to like picture, but yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's different, yeah. So I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that was a fun one.
For some that don't know, I don't know. I'm not like a big glacier guy, but from what I've seen, it's like I know those things are always moving. They're constantly turning and churning, and they got rivers under them and all sorts of just craziness. I know, like there was a show, I think on the History Channel with Steve Ranella, where he like goes through all these like crazy disappearances. But there's a plane that ended up flying into one, and the glacier just like ate it.
Totally.
Just gone, no trace of it, and then it spit it out 30 years later.
Yep. That was the thing that was crazy. So if you looked at the glacier during the daytime, they had this set up, and I can't remember, it's been long enough now how exactly it was, but it was like basically like a bike wheel on a spring, and you could see its mark, so you could kind of go out there and like look at your mark, where it's at on the glacier, then you come back, and it would be like, you would go out for a day, and I don't know the exact number, but it was like feet that it moved while you were on it. Like, and that was the other thing that's crazy. I could try and find a photo, but in one of the segments of that film, Alan's like doing technical ice climbing, like inverted. No joke, like 3 months later, Alan sent us a photo, and that whole it's probably the size of like 6 or 10 school buses broke off. And it's just like, you're just like, oh my gosh, like I was in there and probably one of the last people, to kind of partake of it, and it's all broken off and spread out throughout the bay. So gnarly. Alaska is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So
yeah, it's one of those places that for some reason I'm so drawn to.
Amen.
But I don't have the stones to like do it.
Totally.
Like it's my dream to do like a Alaskan moose hunt.
Totally. Like
get up, do all the stuff, fly into a gravel bar, however it needs to be.
Yeah.
And financially, like that's probably the biggest barrier, because otherwise I'd love to get a moose down. But man, just some of what they do on the daily basis up there is so incomprehensible to most people.
Yeah, like I haven't spent, like I've been up there a few times, and it's just everyone you meet down there is just built out of 50 grit sandpaper, in the best way possible. Like, everyone there's a geologist, a heli pilot, a, sea captain, whatever. And I don't want to say it's a hard life, like that's a bad thing, but it's not like those guys are, those guys are and gals are forged, out of the landscape that they're in, and it's such an amazing place to recreate, and it's really cool, like being around Alan, that ice climber, and he's like generational family up there. Just the respect that they have for the landscape up there, and understanding, of that, and and honestly, I think that's what makes them really proficient at what they do.
Yeah, I think the average, I would imagine, like the average Alaskan, like their level of comfortability would crush probably 80% of people in the lower 48.
Amen.
Whereas just they just encounter stuff that we would never encounter unless you're there.
Totally.
I mean, that many grizzly bears, maybe unless you live in Montana or something like that. But yeah, that's so rowdy. And then I think the cool thing is like, so even though you're shooting that, you have a depth to your shooting, because that one's like, I would say, cinematic to the point of like you're just kind of awestruck watching it. But then you even page over to like some of the stuff you've done for 509 shooting,
Yeah.
like the dirt bike stuff, where you're able to bring like this like comedic relief to something that I think is really tough and kind of gnarly, but it makes it look like I want to do that. Like I want to be a part of it. So like, how do you manage that contrast?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's really cool is, whether it's surf, skate, mountain bike, moto, you name it, it's like really cool to try and understand the culture of that and how to almost interpret something that appeals to that culture, and also pulling from other cultures and applying it, like whether you're really into skate films, like, oh damn, it'd be really sick to like shoot a moto, film in this way or form, or surf or mountain bike. And I think like with my roots of growing up watching mountain bike films and how talented that creative pool is of like, dude, like I have yet, mountain bike filmmakers and photographers, those guys are savages on what they will put in work wise to like get a creative shot. And not saying like I'm the most creative mountain bike filmer, but just having that as a base of like understanding like what the people that I look up to are trying to put out on a daily basis. It's just cool to like, okay, like how do I take mountain biking and, oh, I think this is really cool from surf and skate and moto. Like, how do I apply this to this 509 goggle release? And, give this, what's the attitude of this helmet or goggle or, athlete? And, is this a funny moment, a sad moment, a somber moment? And you can just, it's fun, like painting the emotion of that through, video and photo.
Yeah, I mean, the depth of it is always so interesting to me, because, I mean, some of them, like for the moto ones, it's like I'll live that moment and it'll be, when you're in the pain cave and then all of a sudden, you get a shot of somebody almost getting their head, like ripped off with a branch.
Totally.
And it's just like, yeah, that's funny. Like, I don't care who you are. That's just funny to watch.
Totally.
I do think, though, like, so for something close to my kind of interest would be hunting. And I think it's an area where I haven't seen the same, like, depth of different styles of videos, content, movies, stuff like that. Like, I think everyone tries so hard to be too serious when they're out there, or with the credibility kind of component, that it almost ends up just delivering this, like, if they didn't get something, it almost washes the entire experience.
Totally.
And it's one, I would just be curious to hear your thoughts on something like that, with, something as serious as hunting and getting a kill. That's, we're talking ending a life, which is serious stuff. But like being able to like put those little tidbits in that make things fun, make things relatable, I just feel like it would bring on a whole nother crowd of people that might not otherwise want to consume.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's really cool is like, and I feel like snowmobiling can kind of fall under this category, and skiing and mountain biking and moto and hunting kind of all fall under this category. Is like, not like hunting's obviously been around for a very long time, but like you said, the media aspect of it is still very new, and the style of that is very new, and how to portray that. And I think that's the thing that I really enjoy about what I do is like getting to be able to peek behind the curtain of like how this person operates, and have them be willing to trust me with the more, I don't want to say intimate, but like, side of like, man, dude, I just hiked, 15 miles, 6,000 feet of vert. And, I was lined up on this elk and I didn't get the shot, versus like them feeling like they have to fulfill a sponsor obligation or whatever, to paint a story to please a sponsor. I think, and I'm not saying that crowd is this way, but just being real and being willing to put the real story out there, and hopefully be able to have someone working with them to be able to do a good job telling it.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, real quick on that, everything, all industries go through that growing pain of like, think about like how cornball sled films were before maybe McKinney started making, like McKinney leveled up the sled world, and like in the mountain bike world, it was cornball for a bit in the 90s, and then it's like it got its next wave of like, whoa, this is like cinematic, and skiing, like it's cornball. And then it gets to this point where it's like, okay, this is like, how we make it sick in whatever realm that is, and mountain bike, everything kind of goes through that, right?
Yep.
And so I feel like hunting is potentially, and I don't know this because I'm not involved in the industry, but it might, I'm not saying it's in its cornball realm, but it could be new enough in the storytelling process that people don't really know how to, I don't want to say don't know how to tell that story, but it just really hasn't been done. So there's no footprint for what people want to do.
Yeah, I think too it's so one-dimensional with the way that it's portrayed that like that's where it's like some guys do a really good job of telling a great story, even if it's win or lose, or they get an animal, they don't get an animal. Like they still do a good job of making it very heartfelt and something serious. Mm-hmm. But the part that I always like miss and I don't see as much of is like, it's like when I'm out hunting for a couple days, it's like I'm not serious the whole time. Like if you're serious the whole time, like fucking check yourself, dude. Like it's not that serious.
Totally.
But it's one where it's like the camp life, dude. It's like, oh, you run out of water, now you're like getting water out of some little shit.
Totally.
Pocket in the mountainside that you're like,
yeah,
I shouldn't be drinking this, and then you end up shitting weird for the next 2 weeks.
Totally.
Like, it's just that kind of stuff where I feel like it goes underlooked sometimes. Some guys do a great job, and maybe I just haven't come across some of it, but I always like to like get the film side's like perspective of like maybe that's a reason it's not that way. But it sounds like other industries have kind of gone through it.
Yeah, and that could be my jaded perspective in it, but
think of like the power sports one where you just slap Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, totally.
Sail, and then that was it. GoPro,
and that was sick back in the time. It's cool. That's like, and that's where we're living in such a cool time of like the mediums people are using for filmmaking and photography. Like you can take really cinematic footage with like really shitty iPhone footage and tell. My big thing is I want to tell story and make someone feel something. I don't want to, sure, I can cut together an ad where it's like, this is a hot boy track and like you're fired up, like you want to go walk through 8 walls of sheetrock and buy a new dirt bike. Like I want to make that too, but you also want, like, I really want to tell story. I want to tell the real thing. I want to tell it how it is. I want to tell it how I think you saw it and put emotion behind it. And we live in this cool time of like, you can take cinematic footage, iPhone footage, GoPro, old homie style footage, film footage, photo, you name it, and like paint a story with it. I think that's like, back when I first got into this, was like, if not every shot is the most cinematic banger of your life, like why is it in this film, kind of thing. And it's cool. Like, not saying I have the glass ball on all of it, but it's fun dabbling in so many different industries. Like straight up, I feel like snowmobiling is at that point where there's certain aspects of it, that are a bit cornball and they're trying to figure it out. But I think the next wave of it is going to be gnarly and it's going to be insane. The long format media, and straight up, not to like plug my own stuff, but that's what we were trying to do with Ross, is like, hey, this is Ross's story in the Now or Never series. Like, this is not saying like our films like totally blew the wheels off the world. Like, we worked with what we had and tried to make a series that told some story of Ross and humans and showing them do their craft to the best of their ability. And I think if we get more, we got some badass young guys coming up that are hungry to make stuff, and hopefully they don't just make TikToks and short format stuff. That's a great skill to have, but learning, the skill of long format media and how to tell story and be willing to put in the work for that, I think is one of the coolest things you can do. So
yeah, I mean, the level of progression nowadays is, I mean, it's insane. You got little 12-year-olds throwing double corks and just craziness. And I think it even ties, so I'm going to kind of jump here, but even to like one of the episodes, like I don't know which one it was on Famous Potatoes, but it was the one where I think it was like the winter that never came,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And in that storytelling that you did, like, I found it so intriguing and interesting that, like, I'm not a big skier, but like I watched it the whole way through because I think it was the part where it's like Essex is proclaiming like it's going to be this, it's going to be sick, and then it like cuts to your voiceover of like it in fact wasn't sick,
Yeah.
and they never got the shot. You know, kind of.
Totally.
It is just like it provided that levity to a serious situation of like that you needed a shot, didn't get the shot, ended up going surfing instead.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing where it's like that was relatable to me because
Totally.
it's like think of how many times the mountains get shitty and
Totally.
all right, time to go dirt bike.
Totally.
Oh, time to go this, time to go that.
Totally. Yeah, and that's something like just to, I guess to kind of speak on those boys for a bit and like how I've gotten to know them through, you know, being in a lot of type 2 situations, but also being a part of the process of watching, you know, those guys kind of grow as, you know, I would say Essex is kind of the chief cheese of the crew, like being an ex-pro and getting to watch Blake grow as a skier. And, you know, Blake's dream, you know, dude, he's got posters on the wall. Like, he wants to be in ski movies and doing all that. And to be able to be in a crew and have them, like, those guys are actively filming too. It's not just me filming. Like, those guys know how to fly a drone. They're doing what they can to document the experience. But it's pretty cool to have, like, a group of athletes that are some of my best friends, and we figured out a way with sponsorship and everything else to kind of get a bit of budget to help make this thing, and getting to see these athletes grow and kind of, like, I don't want to say blossom, but, like, you know, level up in a lot of ways, tell their story, and have them be willing to pull out all the stops to be able to make it happen for me to get into the zone. Or if I can't make it on that film day, like, they can run a drone and whatever. And I think it's really admirable to have guys with, like, you know, as much as they can be frustrating sometimes as friends, like, it's super cool how dedicated they are as, I would say, not like, I don't mean this in a mean way, they're not pro athletes, you know, they're professional fun havers, and they just do all of this stuff at a high level, and being thankful to have the opportunity to document it and hopefully put a story out there that resonates with people. And if anything, it's just a cool chapter of our friendship that we can look back on in 20 years. Oh, dude, you remember in Famous Potatoes 2 where, you know, you, like, didn't land that cork 7 and I did, or whatever. You know, it's yeah, that was a tangent, but it's been really fun.
I think the crew chemistry, though, like, if there's one thing I know, it's like when you guys are around and hanging out, it's always cool, like, chatting with each of you because you all are so, like, very much yourselves. Like, there's not like a blend of, like, personalities and other stuff, but you guys are also, like, so kind of on the same page.
Yeah, but also very different.
Very different.
Which is, like, a hilarious combo. You got, like, we call me I don't even know where to start with this, but, like, you got Steven, the engineer brain, and you got Essex, the, like, I don't even know, the hot boy, like, whatever, and you got
the pro skier,
like, you know, he's just so dialed at everything he does. Then you got Blake, who's kind of the blue collar boy that could somehow figure out how to side hill a combine if he needed to in a situation. And then you got me, this weird, funny, like, filmer dude that kind of all, you know, meshes together into this weird casserole of, like, yo, dudes, this is the big idea for this year. Like, let's try and crush. And those boys, man, like,
I think that's half the draw, though, dude, is, like,
totally.
Because, like, when you watch, you know, you guys, you kind of just, like, sit and you're like, I'd care to be in that tent right now, like, hanging out with them.
Totally.
Which just draws you in further to learn. And then on top of that, there's sick skiing.
Yeah,
there's sick editing.
Yeah.
In sick zones. Like, it just kind of has
But also
the
film, like, the goal with the film is also to have it, not have, like, a home video feel to it, but it's not, like, I'm proud of them and they're well done, but they almost have, like, a relatable feel of, like, hey, these guys are, they're not normal, they're normal dudes, that are doing all this at like a really high level, and they've put in the time to get it there and do it in good style. And anyways, I just admire the process and everything that they've done to keep me on board and do it, and just how hard they're willing to work, for this weird film that hopefully slaps at the end of the year.
I think the with the social media age and kind of everything we have going on, like the definition of a pro has really changed, I guess, in my eyes, where maybe the definition would be like if you are getting paid by a company to ride and use their stuff. Like maybe that's like the best definition, but nowadays you don't have to be the best rider to be getting that type of treatment. And oftentimes you're not the best rider. You're just putting out the most relatable content that's getting in front of the most eyes. So it's in a cool way, like with Blake and Essex and that whole crew. It's like the what's being put out, like whether you would ever categorize, them as pros. It's like it's super digestible, relatable,
cool,
strivable content.
Yeah,
maybe would be the best way to say it. Where to me, it's like I watch, some Tanner Hall movie, and it's like that's super sick. Travis Rice movie. It's like that's so sick, but that is so far from my realm that like I don't even know how to process. Jumping out of a helicopter door, like that's super sick. But like I feel like unless I have a Red Bull on the side of my helmet, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
The other stuff, it's like it's so north of my ability, but it doesn't feel so far north of like strivability.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that's cool is like Essex and Blake and Steven, like no doubt they're gnarly. Like
don't want to undercut that at all. They're gnarly dudes.
They do it in such good style. I don't know how else to put it other than that. Like the checks and balances of the crew, because at the end of the night they got to make sure they get me back and get me some Mexican food or whatever after this Type 2 fun, because I ran out of snacks 2 days ago and I'm eating yours now, kind of thing. But I just really, I think the premise of that is like, Essex, Blake, and Steven are guys that I'm doing, a lot of like both personal stuff with just having fun with them, but also the work side of like, making films with them. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do that with some of my best friends, and be able to document that. Because it's a cool thing to be able to, be genuine, be raw, but also like, I don't really know a whole lot of other people that are flying around in a bush plane, dropping gear out of a plane and hiking in all day long into a zone and staying out there for 3 days to ski lines that no one's ever done. So it's not cupcake what they're doing by any means. And it's so cool that they're like, all right, Cam, like, get on the treadmill and so we can get you up this mountain. And,
there's something poetic to like, what they're doing. Like, not necessarily if you're looking like the caliber, the highest level of skiing, if you put that next to someone else. I think it's like the effort and what it takes to ride these lines that have never been ridden.
Totally.
In Idaho backcountry, which is knowingly some of the hardest backcountry to access because of how treated it is. Yeah. So
and the whole process of it straight up feels like you're just boys ripping, you're 7 years old ripping bikes in the neighborhood with the boys. Like it is the most grassroots feeling of like, hey, we're going to go walk around in the mountains and hopefully it reveals something to us and we get the opportunity in the window to do something. But hey, worst case, I got to spend, some time in the mountains and say some things that should probably stay in the mountains, and just have a good time. And like, for me, I just feel like I'm trying to pack my memory bank of just like, I just want to fill my life up with memories and stories. And, hopefully I'm that weird guy drinking a Capri Sun that can tell a few stories to some kids and get them inspired to ride a moto, go on that surf trip, make that weird film with your friends, chase after that big brand to see if you get the opportunity to film something, for them or be a part of the crew and try and open up some sort of door so you can walk through it. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys, as in the videographers and stuff, you're the ones that are telling the story. You're living it, but then you're also telling it, which is
Yeah.
So insane. And I think it's kind of a cool segue as far as like working with your best buds and having like that entire crew dynamic, and then turning and working with Chevy or working with Ibis or these other guys that you've done a bunch of shoots with. Like, what does that look like then going to that? I would assume maybe a little bit less broy and more profesh, but
no, man, I think that's like the big thing. And I guess a little bit more backstory on me. Like, I'm 100% self-taught, YouTube extraordinaire filmmaker, shook the right hands, met the right people, I tried to go to school for marketing and filmmaking. The program was a joke, so I ended up getting a business loan.
You sucked the right hands. And
straight up. Like, it was, dude, it was a grind. Being a kid from Spokane, like trying to break into the action, just filmmaking world in general, especially without, 11, 12, 13 years ago, not having any experience with it. Man, holy cow, it's been a grind and a hustle.
And the barrier to entry is not
cheap
by any means.
Yeah, because you got to deliver, you got to set expectations and deliver. And I am so thankful for, I've had so many people give me an opportunity to spread my wings and do it. And that's just led into the conversation for the next person and to the next person and to the next person and trying to be a good dude and work hard and, be willing to learn. I think that's been my big success on big sets and whatnot, where you got 30 people, on staff, and you've got 4 people from corporate and 5 people from the agency, and you got client monitors all plugged into your camera. It's like, all right, sunset's going off now. We've got this Chevy Silverado, ripping through here. You're pulling focus on this shot. Like, let's nail it. And thankfully I've had, if I didn't nail the shot, I was funny enough that they'd let us run it again, make fun of myself and be able to do it again. But, it's been some of the most rewarding moments and feelings in life, being able to be a part of jobs like that, being just the self-taught kid from Spokane that's trying to be whatever I'm trying to be, as a filmmaker.
You worked with some big brands.
Like,
name a few. I mean, brag a little bit, because you've done some cool shit.
I've worked with Chevrolet, Yamaha, Motor Trend, Haggerty, Subaru, Ford Bronco, Outside Magazine,
Yamaha.
So, I've been very, very blessed and thankful to, and just like how those connections came to be are just all weird, relationship building and trying to do good work and trying to do work that's true to me. I feel like that really speaks a lot. Sending sick memes to producers, so they're like, this guy's funny, let's get him on set.
I'd like not to get philosophical, but I do, in my experience, I've never seen somebody that, if they're anything but authentic to their self and how they operate and who they are as a person, I don't ever see somebody, unless you're that way, be successful.
Totally.
You really, you go down the list, and it's like, you could even look at some money-hungry, C-level sweet guy. Yeah. It's like, well, all they are is, money-driven dudes.
Totally.
On the court, off the court, doesn't matter. That's what they live for, and that's what they're, that's their authenticity.
Totally.
But then in the power sports and that world, it's like, if you're anything but who you just want to be naturally, just shit doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing too, right? I think that's being open to have the hard conversations too, of just as a creative, setting value for yourself, being willing to either see the vision of why it's important for you to do this job for free and why it's important for you to charge $30,000 for this job over here, whatever, $10,000, $5,000 over here, for a job. Is this one a portfolio builder? Is this one going to put me in contact with whoever? It's a weird chess game of being true to yourself, sticking up for yourself, navigating the business side, pulling that hat off, immediately putting the creative hat on, and kind of backing up what you say you're going to do. It's it's something that's like really evolving for me on like, I'm 30 now and I've been doing this for a while. Like, what is my future of Cam Dog the filmer? What do I want that to be? Do I want to be the dude, with a camera bag on my back at 55 years old, shooting jabronis like hucking through the air? I don't know.
You could always be the 50-year-old sending young jabronis out to film that stuff under your collection.
Straight up. But it's like, it's funny when people ask like my path to quote unquote success and whatever success is it's like been this such weird roller coaster, perfect timing, worst timing ever situation of just trying to make it happen. And I guess just looking forward, to future Cam, like obviously I want to keep working with big brands and doing all that, but I'm also, maybe this is my old hat starting to grow on top of my head, but back to the importance of, making these little ski films with my friends and, documenting photos of trips that I'm doing with friends now. It's like, I'm in this golden era of just like, documenting things as big as a Yamaha shoot, and that's really cool, but it's also really cool to come over here and tell my buddies stories, and hopefully they're still on the internet in 15 years and we can be like, oh, that was super fun, or like, wow, that's such a cool way to look at it.
Have you had like any, well, I'm sure you have, but situations where like you put out something and like the brand that you're working with was like, this ain't it?
Oh yeah.
Totally. Like, how do you deal with that kind of pushback?
Yeah, I mean,
creatively, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, in like a business situation, I'm pretty good about like trying to set my ego aside and wanting to, fix the problem. Thankfully, in this day and age, there's enough checks and balances on things that typically you don't get to that point. I would say like early on in my film career where, I'm still trying to figure out how to turn on my mic and make sure the shot was in focus. I would have more of that, but it can come down to sacrifice and being willing to do whatever it takes to make the client happy, whether it's a reshoot or whatever. And that's gone a long way. I mean, I've had to do that, and clients have really like given me the thumbs up of like, sweet, like you're our guy. Like, thanks for taking the time to do that. That's great. But I don't know if that answered that question very well, but
no, it does. I think it just like showcases like it is a product. Like, it's still dealing with like, this is a product that someone's paying money for.
Yeah. And it's the thing that's crazy is I would argue it's 60 or 70% business before you get to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a reality. Like, oh wow, Cam, like you went and did this. That's crazy. And it's like, oh man, dude, I had 6 months of meetings before that went down. So anyways, it's all part of the process. It's all baked in.
Yeah.
So.
If there's one thing I've learned with being around the sled industry and moto and the job, I think the part that people see, which is like the really fun stuff, when you're at trade shows, when you're at here doing a photo shoot, it's like, oh, you get to ride for a living there. So it's like, no. Like, we are grinding on spreadsheets 99% of the time. You get to see the one off day we get to go do this. Or, like for somebody like a McKinney who's on snow however, much throughout, it's like, yeah, it's the grind, though, of like, he's not out riding.
Yeah.
He's out to capture other people riding. Granted, his office, a lot better than maybe my office at that point.
But it's also, man, and there's nothing truer, right? And there's a weird relationship you have with the whole doing something that you love, that's your passion, and having it be a job. And that is a weird, I don't know if you've had to navigate that at all, but...
Well, leaving 509, I definitely had to navigate that.
And I think it's hard, dude, you're on cloud 9 when everything's all good and you're doing the thing, but there's also something that I've learned, there's value in protecting certain, sides of whether that's like mountain biking or whatever. And, I've definitely lost sight of that in certain things. Like, I'm so burnt out, I don't want to go ride my dirt bike right now. And then you have a talk with yourself, like, are you kidding me? It's a Saturday and you're burnt out and you don't want to ride a dirt bike. What are you doing? So it's a weird chess game of like, I look at it as like creatives have this really cool tool that only has so many gallons in the tank, to use. Like you can only use so much creative fuel, and then you have your fun tank, of like the things that you enjoy doing, and you have work. And it's really weird when all three of those are together, and it's important to do all of it in good style. So sorry, not trying to be Gandhi over here, but that's something I've really struggled with. So
I'll be honest, I'm sympathizing completely because so for those, I don't even think I've talked about it yet on the podcast, but I worked for 509. I was international sales manager there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were doing okay internationally. But I found myself in a position where I was getting home, a lot like you're saying, where it's like, to me, dirt bikes is kind of my outlet. That's what I always have wanted to do. It's kind of always been my center. It's this sport that's stuck around when others have kind of came and gone. And I just found myself like, I could not dirt bike. Because to me, then dirt biking was talking about work and, what gear are these people riding? And is our stuff working to the standard that we set? Is, kind of like blah, blah, blah down the chain. And yeah, I found myself to the point where I was like burnt out on it. I didn't even want to talk about it. Like after work, it was like that, which I think is like what sparked my hunting side growing so much as far as an interest.
Yeah, it's separate.
And it's separate. It's something different, but it pulls on the same stuff. But I think luckily I then kind of acknowledged that, which as hard as it was to step away from it.
Yeah.
Because, like, to me, it's like, well, the riding dirt bikes and loving dirt bikes was far more important to me than working in the industry.
Totally.
So, and it was a tough.
Oh, it's a tough call because it's all your friends, it's all the people you love and adore, and I've had cool experiences with and been through a lot of different things. And
it's the thing. Little Ty was wanting to work in since, I had started riding at 3 years old.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those where you're like, man, like you almost like when I was going through that process, I was like, if I was talking to my younger self would be pretty pissed. But I would hope once he grew up, he'd understand like, this is kind of unfortunately how it is, where it's like it was a real job. Mm-hmm. It's not just fun.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I'm learning to try and do a better job, of navigating. You only got so much in the tank that you can pull from and figure out where you're going to delegate that, because it's not fun when you're on the burnout train and all that stuff. And because as much as I love being a filmmaker, I love ripping motos, I love ripping mountain bikes, I love traveling with my buddies, I love not having a camera around, I love enjoying life. So that's been something that I would say more in the last 2 years, I've been trying to balance that out more, because before it was like, how do I make everything about work in my life and how to integrate it and whatnot and have it be this lifestyle kind of thing. And yeah, I definitely pulled way too much out of my tank and developed weird relationships with the things that I love. So
yeah, it's tough. Do you think that that's why filming with Essex and that crew, do you think it removes some of that professional drain?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also, though, it's really draining because, and as much as I love the boys, they don't understand the creative process as far as how draining. I've been working on this year's film, whether I'm physically at the keyboard or just thinking about it in my spare time, it's draining trying to, one, do it justice and have them be proud of it. But, it's draining in a lot of ways, but it's also amazing that they kind of give me the keys to the car and be like, hey, Cam, let us know how we can help. But we also know that you got this kind of thing. So it's really draining on one side of it, but it's also really rewarding having friends that trust you to hey, if you need our input, sweet, but you drive, so it's really creatively rewarding, because I'm just let's do some weird shit. How are we gonna
a labor of love.
Yeah, man. And it's when you attach money and trying to please the client and cater, media for certain things, there's so much shit that gets lost in the sauce of that versus these boys are like, hey, tell a genuine raw story that rips and use the music that rips, and like, do you? And that's like one of the most, man, showing those little ski films, like the YouTube side's great, but for me it's the premiere where I got my colleagues and friends all around. It's like, hey man, I really appreciate you taking 15 to 30 minutes of your time to like watch this thing and celebrate like the friendship of these boys and like what they got up to last winter. And even if you're not a skier, hopefully you're like, fuck yeah, these guys are getting after it and it rips.
Yeah, so thinking back, I think it's the last premiere that you guys had with the pond skim and then the song, I think, what was it, Live For Today or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, I just remember watching that, and like, I haven't heard that song in a long time. I think it was on some snowboard movie, like way, way back. And I just remember like, I think it like was immediately added to my playlist, and I probably still listen to it weekly.
Rad.
But it's just that stuff, man, where it's in there. Granted, everything they're doing is super sick, but you can see the passion that comes out of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is like potentially the part where that becomes so much more rewarding than that other shoot where it's like this thing that is like, it's cool, but it's not your
hey,
passion.
This widget's sick. It's like, okay, cool, I'm on it.
Yeah. Or like, the Chevy truck is sick.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, a Chevy
truck.
There's
a lot of other, and there's just a lot of other pressures that come along with that you're not even, it's very much a professional work environment versus with the Spud Buds, I can be in my underwear with 3 cigarettes in my mouth and a hat on backwards filming them ski a line, and they're stoked. So that's a terrible visual, but
dude, I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah. So
we're gonna get R-rated after saying that.
So
you're freelance. Run me through, like, I mean, you kind of have alluded to it. I just want to like put a cap on it. The way that you're paid is, you're out working with. You tell it, but kind of like for the listeners that have no idea that this even type of photography or videography exists.
Yeah.
Or the ones that are interested, that want to learn more about being a freelance.
Yeah. This sounds kind of cornball / core dog, but you got to be about it, like straight up. There's no, you got to prove that, you're going to put in the time and the effort to make it sweet. And you also got to be able to jump through every necessary hoop, whether you got to go, I've shot everything under the sun to be able to pay my bills. So
even weddings.
Yeah, straight up. I shot my first wedding, young McKinney, this year. Sorry, buddy. I'm working on that edit. It's not quite done yet. You just got to do what you got to do to make ends meet, and don't have too big of an ego to go, shoot a Go-Gurt commercial over here so you can go, film a sick film with Polaris, over here that fills your cup. It's a weird chess game of, maybe you got to shoot a wedding to pay your bills, but you also need to, if you're wanting to be an action sport or motorsport filmmaker, you got to be in the scene and like taking the necessary steps to have people want you on board and nail it when it's your opportunity to do it. Create opportunity and capitalize on it always.
And then you're working directly with these companies, like doing your own contract negotiations.
Yeah, everything. Working directly with brands, working with agencies, you name it. So, and there's so much stuff that, I don't even want to go. I've filmed so many different things and so many different genres, and look at all of it with an opportunity to learn, something, whether you're in a studio setting or in the field. But if you can try and keep the crosshairs on the thing that you want to do, that's the only way you're going to get known in that scene. Like, if you want to be a mountain bike filmmaker, like, dog, you got to make the sacrifice to have that be the thing and jump through every hoop along the way to be able to do it.
Man, incredible. I don't want to dive into something that we're going to keep talking about for hours, but I do think it's worth chatting about, because it sounds like a trip that is just fucking sweet.
Yeah.
I know you guys have done some adventure bikes, like down to Baja.
Yeah.
I know you got a trip coming up too.
Yeah.
So Tell me a little bit about it, because this is the kind of the cool stuff, I think, when you're immersed in, like, granted, like, I'm sure you're going to be doing some shooting, and it's not going to be just all fun, but the experience you end up pulling from it is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think that comes back to, like, through the filmmaking space, I've gotten to meet some badass people that are willing to kind of be on the throttle of life. And we did a 3-week adventure bike surf trip in Baja this last fall. I actually made, like, a little photo book out of the whole trip and kind of wrote some notes and whatnot. And another one of those bookmark things that I can look back later in life. But yeah, anyways, we camped for, I think it was 22 days in Baja at remote surf points with 3 of my best friends, like waking up, surfing, you know, eating rocks, sleeping in the sand, rationing water, like you name it, to be able to do it. And now we're gearing up this next Wednesday. We're leaving to do the Colorado and Wyoming backcountry discovery routes, which, if you're not familiar with those, they're basically routes that this company has put together where you go through an entire state basically on dirt, and it's typically north to south, and you basically just get to see the behind the scenes of that state. You get to go through all the parks and ride all these amazing roads and camp in these amazing places and get to experience the state in a much different way. And so yeah, I think we're taking 12 days to camp and ride off the motorcycles. And dude, I'm just trying to make memories with my buds and try and stay young-minded. So yeah, I can't even see straight. I'm so stoked. So it's gonna be good.
What bike are you ripping on that trip?
Yeah, so in Baja I had a KTM 950 Adventure, and then for this trip I will be on a Ducati Desert X. So it barks.
Yeah, you started it up for me, dude. That thing sounds... Yeah. How much horsepower did you say?
I think it's like 125 horse. So yeah.
Dude, that thing will get you into some trouble.
Yeah.
If you're looking for it.
If my wife's listening, it's super slow.
You say 10 horsepower?
Yeah,
okay,
10 horsepower. Yeah. No, dude, those, the way you can cut through, like, terrain and, like, you are just linking all these small towns together, like, you know, in mountain biking and in single track moto, you're like, okay, like, I did a 50-mile day, like, this is sweet. Like, you're putting in a 200-mile day in the mountains. Like, you see that little ridge line out in the distance, like, you're probably going to be on it by 3 o'clock today, kind of thing. Like, they are just other than a bush plane, they are just such fun, access, capable machines that you can haul all your gear and just haul ass through the mountains in good style. So
it's so cool, dude. I think I've learned, just from being in the woods on gravel roads, whether it's hunting or dirt biking or whatever, it's you see a part of America that is, like, only unique to doing something like that.
Totally.
Like, if you're not out there doing it, because it's a bear riding that much gravel.
Yeah.
But shit, when you get out and see the views, get those awesome camp spots, probably see a couple mines or just, like, ruins from the pioneer days.
And just getting to drop into these armpit downs. Like, I remember Essex and I did Idaho a couple years ago now, and it's like we rolled into some town that had this bar, and these 2 Harley guys were out back, and before I knew it, I'm just trying to unpack my, bag so we can go in and get a burger, and Essex is already smoking darts with these 2 dudes that are coming back from Sturgis. Like, you just get to, from small town pizzerias, small gas stations, to epic views and vistas, to, trying to get your bike unstuck, to, like, it's just like the sense of adventure on these, even though the route is totally planned out, just feels like life is, like, unraveling right in front of you, and it's pretty cool to take it all in.
There's something beautiful about, like, no expectations.
Totally.
Like, going into those where you just end up, like, your expectation is, like, we found food.
Totally.
And then, like, it ends up being the best burger you've ever had at some hole in the wall spot in the middle of Wyoming.
Totally. And the fact that you found a Cliff Bar in your bar bag that you didn't know you have, so now you get dessert. Like it really simplifies like the Baja trip, these BDR trips, these ski trips. It simplifies like sleep, food, water, and like whatever activity, and that is just like such a beautiful thing,
It's so I haven't done the adventure rips, and that's something I shouldn't add to my list because my list is long of stuff that I have going on, but I will. But it's like even hunting, dude. When I'm back in the woods for, I would say after about day 4 or 5, you kind of like enter into this zone of like, I don't want to say primal, but that's kind of what it is, where it's like you got water, you got food, you got a place to sleep, and you got a mission that you're trying to go out and do.
Yeah.
And it's like life gets so simple.
Yeah.
When that starts happening, I got to figure out how to like exercise that in my normal life.
Yeah.
And usually it results in zero service and not being on a phone, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what it's about, man. Making memories and, trying to, our bodies are working right now. Might as well see what they can do. So we're fired up.
Well, I think that's a good spot to cap it. If you want to be a filmer, you got to be about it. And I think also get out and just make cool experiences with your buddies. Remove your boundaries. Just get out, say yes to stuff. Cam, you want to plug anything before we roll?
I guess if you're kind of new to the space, not saying, I'm learning too, still to this day. But if you have any questions or how to do the thing, like not that I have everything figured out, but I'm happy to help. So.
I think using it, if this is something someone's interested in, reach out, make connections. It's funny how many people I've met through social media and just a quick message that ends up being a great buddy and a friend later on.
Yep.
So use it.
Yep. Amen.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.